What's up guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I'm bringing you my Season 2 Bone Spear build, and as always Bone Spear is still strong as ever. Even after all of the nerfs, Bone Spear just smashes through all content with ease. You can handle tier 100 nightmare dungeons. I've killed Uber Lilith, I've done all of the new Uber bosses. You know, there's literally nothing you can not do with this build. And the cool thing about Bone Spear, if you want to, you can level with it. I mean, once you get the skill, you can take that all the way to end game. There's nothing in Diablo 4 that you can't do with this build. And if you've never played Bone Spear, it's actually a really fun and fast build overall. There will be timestamps down below, so if you want to jump ahead at any time, feel free. Also, I'll have some gameplay footage at the end. If you guys end up enjoying the video, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave me a comment down below. Let me know what builds you're playing. You know, if you're enjoying Season 2 and how it's going for you. Anyways, alright, let's jump right into it, guys. We'll briefly go over the skills used on the build. Up top, we use bone splinters. We basically use this to generate essence if we need to, but really with this setup, we don't need to. We have Bone Spear, that's our bread and butter. Come down, we have Blood Mist, basically it's a get out of jail free card. If you're in a tight situation, you hit Blood Mist, you can get out of it. We have Corpse Explosion. We actually gain a lot of damage with Corpse Explosion, so that's why we run that. Corpse Tendrils, you know, it pulls enemies into a group, makes them vulnerable for 3 seconds, and also stuns them, so it's really nice to have. And then we have Bone Storm. While Bone Storm is active, we get 15% damage reduction and 20% increased base crit. And with this build, we also have, you know, over 100% crit chance with everything up. So, all right, guys. Now we'll go into our gear and aspects. As you can see right here in my stats, I do have all of my resistances capped. In Season 2, resistances have more meaning now, guys. So you definitely want to cap all your resistances. Get that on your gear for sure. You know, regardless of anything. And you can also get it over here. Now I have skulls. That's because I capped all my resistances without using anything over here. And I get more armor from those. But you definitely make it a priority to cap your resistances. Alright, so into the gear. And as you can see, you know, I have over 10k armor. That's awesome. You know, it reduces physical damage taken from enemies of equal level by 100%. You want to get your armor up as high as possible. Then I have, you know, over 16k life. That's pretty good also. For the helmet up here, I chose to go with a regular helmet. I didn't go with the Necromancer helmet, the Bone Spear helmet that gives you a little bit of damage. I wanted the total armor, the resistance, the maximum life, and essence. Then, you know, I get that barrier as well because of the protector aspect right there. And then when it comes to your armor, you want to get the rubies for maximum life over here. But yeah, on the helmet, I would go with a regular helmet with stats similar to what I have right there. Really defensive and gives you a little bit of damage, good overall, and higher armor. Right here on the chest piece, we want to get the aspect of disobedience. That's pretty much need be for most builds. You gain 1.1% increased armor for 4 seconds when you deal any form of damage, stacking up to 66%. Helps to boost our armor even more. We got percent total armor again right here. That's good. You want to try to get that on all armor pieces that you can. Resistance, maximum life. You can also look for damage reduction, which is really good. Into the gloves, you can look for intelligence, dexterity, and that top slot, and then you want to get as high of attack speed you can. Base crit chance, you want to try to get as high on that as you can on there, and then 4 ranks to Bone Spear. You want to put the aspect of Serration onto your gloves. Right there, the Ossified Essence key passive also increases critical strike damage of your bone skills by 1% multiplicative per essence above 50 up to 39%. So that's a nice, you know, damage boost as well. For the pants, now to Balt's Will, you can see right there, you deal 36% multiplicative increased damage while unstoppable, and for 4 seconds after. When you become unstoppable, gain 50 of your primary resource. Now, if you remember correctly, because of Metamorphosis, we become unstoppable, and that actually pairs up really nice and makes it to where, you know, we get that damage boost pretty much all the time. And then on top of that, next up in our boots, we have this aspect right here of the Ghostwalker aspect. While unstoppable, and for 4 seconds after that, you gain 25% increased movement speed and can move freely through enemies. So basically, we're unstoppable for 8 seconds, and we only have a 6-second cooldown on our evade. So we're always unstoppable. So we can make it to where we're always getting this damage boost right here. And then, you know, it has maximum resource for this build. It's pretty good. Turns it to damage reduction, potions, more damage, raw damage, which is good. So pants are actually really good overall for this build. Now back into the boots, like I said, we want to get the Ghostwalker aspect. Definitely a need-be aspect with this build. You're going to have to find this one to get that nice roll on it right there. You know, try to get what you can on your boots. You Definitely want movement speed. You can get damage reduction, resistances, intelligence. Just find whatever good stats you can on your boots. You can get like +3 to corpse tendrils also. Down here into your sword. Now, this is like the best overall sword that you can find. I have the highest item power at 925, and it's upgraded, so it's at 950. I actually got this off of a Duriel kill. Got really good stats on it. You want to try to get the intelligence as high as possible right there. You can get critical strike damage with bone skills, vulnerable damage, damage to distance. There's a bunch of different damage sources you can get on there. But I'd say definitely go with the intelligence, and all stats is also nice if you can get that and get as high base damage of a sword as you possibly can. For the aspect on here, guys, we want to go with the splintering aspect. You know, Bone Spear's primary attack makes enemies hit beyond the first, vulnerable for, you know, up to 5 seconds. And bone shards from Bone Spear deal 123% up to 135% bonus damage to vulnerable enemies and pierce them, you know, just giving us a ton of damage and making it to where everything that we hit is vulnerable. So that's really good. And then right there, you want to put the jewels in so you get the crit strike damage to vulnerable enemies. Now over here into the amulet, I didn't get movement speed. Movement speed is kind of good on your amulet. I would have preferred to have movement speed instead of the bone skill damage. You know, the bone skill damage isn't bad. Optimally, you want movement speed up top right there. Then you want that total armor like I have. You want essence cost reduction, and then 3 ranks to Evulsion. Evulsion is the best skill ranks that we can get on our amulet. So you want to go with an amulet like this, and if you can, get movement speed instead of the bone skill damage. And then you also want to put the aspect of Grasping Veins on there in up to 30% increased critical strike chance, and that's your base crit chance for 6 seconds when you cast Corpse Tendrils, and we're always casting Corpse Tendrils. And you deal 57% multiplicative bonus critical strike damage to enemies damaged by Corpse Tendrils. Got to have that aspect, and you want to definitely put that on your amulet. In our first ring, now you're going to have to find this aspect. In Season 1, it was in the Codex. No longer think that it is. The aspect of Exposed Flesh, this helps us a ton. Keep our mana pool up. Right there on lucky hit, 10% chance to generate up to 50 essence when hitting a vulnerable enemy. So, you know, we're constantly getting essence back because of this. So you want to try to find that aspect and get it onto your first ring. On the rings, guys, you want to get crit strike chance, critical strike damage. You know, you can get life. You definitely want to try for maximum essence. You can get vulnerable damage. You know, there's, like I said, a lot of different damages you can get. Into our second ring right here, guys, definitely want to get base crit on that one as well. And you see I have critical strike damage, vulnerable damage, damage to distance. Optimally, I would have rather had, instead of like that damage to distance, more maximum essence, which would give me more multiplicative damage. But, you know, I didn't get it on there. But if you can find that, definitely get it. And then you can get from the Codex the aspect of Torment. You see right there, critical strikes with bone skills increase your essence regeneration by 170%. 4 seconds helps your essence a lot. You're never really having essence problems, and with this build you want to keep your essence topped off because of our key passive ossified essence. You know, we get more damage for how much essence we have over 50, so it helps out quite a bit. For the vampiric powers that we want to use, up top we're going to use Sanguine Brace. You can see right there, when you kill an enemy, fortify for 6% of your base life. Really nice to have fortify. When it's up, we get 10% damage reduction, which helps out a lot, especially in the higher tier nightmare dungeons. Then you can see right there, while you have more fortify than half of your maximum life, you gain 8% base crit chance. So that's just even more adding to our crit chance. Prey on the Weak, you deal 16% multiplicative increased damage to vulnerable enemies, and enemies are vulnerable while affected by your vampiric curses. Right here we take Metamorphosis. I think most builds are taking this. When you evade, you turn into a cloud of bats, becoming unstoppable for 4 seconds. And this also synergizes with one of our aspects that we have on a piece of gear to give us quite a big damage boost. Right here we take Resilience. Gain 1% damage reduction for each 2% life you're missing. That's just awesome. I mean, if you're missing 20% of your life, you get 10% damage reduction. So it works out pretty good. Right here we take Domination. You can see right there you deal 24% multiplicative increased damage to enemies who are stunned, immobilized, frozen, or feared. And that's just awesome. You know, 25% multiplicative bonus. We're always stunning enemies with our Corpse Tendrils. Any enemies that are hit other than bosses with Corpse Tendrils are stunned. So that's a nice damage boost. Now, when you go to like fight Uber Lilith, I would say switch this out for Ravenous. Right here on Lucky Hit, you have up to 20% chance to increase your attack speed by 40% of your total movement speed. You can see right there my current bonus is almost 50%. That gives us a lot more attack speed. And against Uber Lilith, that helps a lot. You're hitting her with, you know, a lot more bone spears more frequently, so it tags her life down really quick. But other than Lilith, I don't think you really need this in Nightmare Dungeons, to be honest with you. Alright, in the Book of the Dead, for the Skeletal Warriors now, I've sacrificed the Defenders to gain 20% resist to all elements, and help me to cap my resistances. That's really good to have. But you can take, you know, sacrifice your Skirmishers if you're a little bit low on base crit chance. You gain 5% right here. I don't even need this. I'm like overcapped with everything up, so I don't even need this. And I definitely need the 20 all res. It helps to cap my res, so like I said, so that's why I chose this. For the Skeletal Mages, we want to go ahead and get rid of the Shadow Mages. Now you gain 15 maximum essence, which turns into damage because of our key passive. And for the golems down here, we're going to get rid of the Iron Golem. You deal 30%, and that's multiplicative, increased critical strike damage, but you lose the ability to summon a golem. That's actually really nice, you know, gives us quite a damage boost with our crit strikes. Now we'll briefly go over the skill tree. As you can see right here, we take Bone Splinters and one back into Enhanced Bone Splinters. You can regenerate essence with this. We don't even really use it anymore. You do have to take 2 basic skills to even move down in the tree, so you'll be forced to take those. Right here in our core skills, we want to come up and get Unliving Energy for 9 maximum essence. We want to get Imperfectly Balanced. Makes our core skills cost more, but they also deal 15% multiplicative increased damage. We're going to max out Bone Spear, and we also get 4 rings from our gloves. We're going to come over into Enhanced and back into Paranormal. You could go over here into Supernatural Bone Spear. You can see right there, Bone Spear makes the first enemy hit vulnerable for 3 seconds. But because of our splintering aspect on our gear, all enemies are vulnerable, so you don't have to take that. So you definitely want to come over here for the 5% base crit, and it fires 2 additional bone shards, so that's really nice to have. We're going to come down here and get Hewed Flesh. Unlucky hit. The damage has 12% chance to create a corpse at the target's location, and it's double against bosses. You definitely want to create corpses, you know, as often as possible. Corpse Explosion. 1 into Blood Mist to, you know, get out of sticky situations. 1 into Corpse Explosion. This is literally just to buff our damage, and you'll see that in the Paragon Board. 1 down here into Grim Harvest, so you can get back here to Fueled by Death. You deal 9% increased damage for 6 seconds after consuming a corpse. There's another way we get more damage from Corpse Explosion. Down into our curse skills, we're going to come up here, we're going to get Death's Embrace, 3 points into that. Close enemies take 6% multiplicative more damage from you, and you deal 9% less damage to you, so that's nice to have. We're going to get Death's Reach. You deal 12% multiplicative increased damage to distant enemies. We're pretty much always distant with Bone Spear, so that's, you know, always up. Down into our Corpse and Macabre skills, we're going to come up here to Corpse Tendrils, get 5 points into that. We use that quite often to bunch enemies up, and it helps with our clear speed. And you want to get 5 ranks into it because it reduces the cooldown. Back into Enhanced and over into Plagued. We take Plagued Corpse Tendrils. You know, it makes enemies vulnerable also. We don't really need Blood Orbs, so we don't, you know, go that route. And then we're also going to come down here into Serration. Your bone skills have 0.9% increased critical strike chance for each 30 essence you have. You know, I think when all is said and done, we're at like, or I have around like 230 essence. Everything's up. You know, it's given us quite a bonus to our base crit. Right here into Compound Fracture, after critically striking 10 times with bone skills, your bone skills deal 15% multiplicative increased damage. This is pretty much always up. We're always crit striking. Right here, Avulsion, you want to get 3 ranks into that. Your bone skills deal 30% multiplicative increased critical strike damage to vulnerable enemies. All enemies are always vulnerable. And, you know, you can see right there I'm rank 6 on that. That's because we're getting 3 from our amulet. Down for our ultimate skill, we're going to take Bone Storm back here into Supreme. This gives us more base crit chance and damage reduction. We're going to get 3 into Standalone and 3 into Memento Mori. This is basically going to boost our sacrifices, which is awesome. And then over here with the last 2 points, or with the 2 points we'll have left over, we're going to put into Inspiring Leader for a little bit more attack speed. And then over here we're going to take Ossified Essence. Your bone skills deal 0.5% increased damage for each point of essence you have above 50 upon cast. And like I said, we're with everything up at like 230 essence, so this just gives us a nice boost overall to our damage. Right here in the Paragon Board, we're going to come here on the starter board up and get Prime for damage and life. We're going to put Sacrificial in here. We want to get to the 40 intelligence, so we get the bonus right there. You see you deal 10% multiplicative increased damage while you have no active minions, and we have none. Nice little damage boost. We are going to come down here, get this maximum life and a little bit of all res. Take preservation for armor and intelligence. Damage and intelligence right here on knowledge. You're going to want to come over for this damage also over here. The next board that we will come into is Bone Graft. Hitting enemies with bone skills increases your damage by 1% and your maximum essence by 2 for 8 seconds. That stacks up to 8% multiplicative and 16 maximum essence. Obviously, no brainer, we're going to take that for sure. Get this around here for bone skill damage, or I'm sorry, critical strike chance with bone skills, and critical strike damage with bone skills. We're going to get reinvigorate, maximum essence, essence on kill. Get all this around here for more essence on kill. With this build, we don't want to have any problems with essence, and we don't, how we're set up, so definitely take all that. I'm up here for calcified, critical strike damage with bone skills and bone skill damage. Get these around here. We're going to want to come over here for more maximum life and armor, and over this way. We have a nice health pool and armor pool, and it helps our defenses quite a bit, so that's why I take so much health and armor along with damage in the Paragon board. Up here we're going to put essence. It gives us critical strike damage, and for the bonus you can see right there, critical strikes deal 20% multiplicative increased damage to enemies that are not healthy. Also remember, guys, to get all of your glyphs to level 15 for the bigger radius, and you can actually take them to 21 for even more damage. All of my glyphs right here are only 15, so I could even be pumping more damage out of this build if I leveled up all my glyphs. We're going to take this up here for bone skill damage and intelligence, get all this around it. Next board we're going to come into is Scent of Death. With at least 2 nearby corpses, you get 15% damage reduction. With no corpses, 15% multiplicative increased damage, so it works in our favor either way. First we're going to come up, grab damage to healthy enemies, and crit strike damage. Basically we take it for the crit strike damage. Get the other crit strike damage around here. Don't worry about this stuff down here. Up here we're going to take Imbiber. Basically for willpower you get increased damage while healthy. We're like always healthy. That's a huge boost to our damage having Imbiber. It's actually one of our best glyphs. We're going to over here take Death Mark for damage to injured enemies, but also it gives us intelligence. And then we're going to get the willpower going up this way. Over here we're going to take preservation for armor and intelligence. Down here we're going to get this for more maximum life and shadow resistance. And then coming this way we're going to come down, take corrective for critical strike damage. And we're going to come over here. The next board that we're going to come into is Flesh Eater. Consuming 5 corpses grants you 40% multiplicative increased damage for 6 seconds. That's a big boost to our damage, and it really helps with Uber Lilith and just chunking her down as well. We're going to come over this way, grab Stifle, 50% damage to injured enemies. Not too worried about that, but we're going to get all this for the critical strike damage in the area. And obviously we come down, take Flesh Eater. We're going to come over here. We're going to grab this damage to elites and intelligence. We're going to place the exploit glyph right here. Basically you get vulnerable damage from this glyph. 44 dex in radius. And then for the additional bonus, dealing damage to vulnerable enemies increases your damage by 1% for 6 seconds, up to 10% multiplicative. And when you're going through dungeons and stuff, that's always up. Next we're going to come into the Blood Begets Blood board. We're going to come up in this board just to take Invigorated for, you can see right there, damage while healthy. And then also over here we get more damage in this area, so we're going to take these. There is a way that you could get rid of maximum life in a few areas, and if you wanted to take this right here and you could put in Duriel in there. You and your minions deal 10% multiplicative increased physical damage, and your Bone Spear is physical damage, so that would give you another boost of 10% multiplicative. I chose to go without that because it takes a lot of points to go all up here and get all the stuff you need, and I'd rather use those points for more defenses. So that's the route that I went with this, and we're doing plenty of damage to kill pretty much everything with this build, so it works out pretty good. There will be some gameplay right now afterwards, guys, if you want to check that out. If this video has been helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe, and until next time, thanks for watching.
ready yet.